I'm John Beaudin. This is Rock History Music. There's a song that I play sometimes for people called Mr. Hate from the Tubes, produced by David Foster. And I'll always get reactions from people and go, what is that? Why are you playing that? It's kind of catchy, though. It turns out that album track from the Tubes is based on a true story. Check it out. Remember, the entire interview is also on our sister channel, Rock History Book. Click in the description and you'll see it all. Here's Fee Waybill. Oh, I know. One last one. Mr. Hate. I remember my wife coming up to me and says, and my son, who used to be a little drum prodigy, now he's 18 years old and he has more things in his life, but he's still a really good drummer. Yeah. I remember he came up and I was playing Mr. Hate at the time. And I like the way Mr. Hate, I'm singing along with you. And he goes, hey, I really like that song, right? And he's like 9 or something, 8 or 9. And he's singing along with it. And he comes up and my wife says, what are you singing, right? And I said, no, it's just like all tongue in cheek. It's fine. He's like, don't worry about it. I'm not going to eat your burger. Tell me about that song, because that song has stayed with me it's the way you sing it. It's the way it's being sung because of the inflection. And being a radio guy and loving people like Casey Kasem, who used to talk like this, I like inflection. I like phrase. I like the way you phrase, by the way. I like the way you phrase when you sing. It stays with me. Tell me about that song.
It was a true story. There was in San Francisco during that time, there was a guy and he called himself Mr. Hate. And he was like a fugitive. Okay. He was wanted by the police for killing his mother and sister. And he used to write letters in to the San Francisco Chronicle as he was, hiding out somewhere, saying I'm unjustly accused. I didn't do this. I'm innocent. And he would sign him Mr. Hate. And we saw this, and a lot of those lines in that song are taken straight out of the letters he wrote to the newspaper.
Wow. I had no idea.
And it's all true. And it turns out it was all bullshit. He did it. And he wasn't innocent. They caught him. I don't know if he confessed or they proved it in court or what, sent him to jail. And we thought for years and years, that he would, as soon as he got out of jail, he's going to run us down and wipe us out for plagiarizing all of his lines in the song, Oh,
he didn't get it right away, right? No. Is it because he was traditional? Why didn't he get it?
Well, he was very traditional. He worked really hard. He was an engineer. He wanted me to be an engineer. He ran a resort hotel in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's called the Valley Ho. And he was the chief engineer. And he could do, I'm still grateful for this. He could do everything. He could do electrical. He could do plumbing. He could do air conditioning. He could do carpentry. He could do pretty much fix anything that went wrong at the hotel. He would, and he was one of those guys that was of the opinion that you don't call somebody in to do your job. You do it yourself. Whatever it is, you don't call the plumber. You fix it yourself. And so he taught my brother and I all of this. And it just kills me, like when the sink plugs up in the kitchen. I'm not calling a plumber. I've got the snake and I've got a plunger and I'm in there disconnecting the disposal to so that it doesn't, so that I can force air through the line to break the clog. And it drives my wife crazy. She just called the plumber. Okay. And I'm down underneath. I've got everything pulled out under the sink and I'm plugging up hoses and but it's my brother's even better than I am. My brother built a house. He still lives in Arizona. He lives in Cave Creek out in the desert. And he built a house from the ground up all by himself. the foundation and the framework and the roof and the air conditioning and everything, the plumbing, the wall board but he's unbelievable. And it's funny, my dad used to be a riding instructor also. And we had a rental stable, we had an arena, we used to have horse shows. And so he was a judge also, a horse show judge and a riding instructor. And my brother and I had horses from the time we could practically walk.
So your family did well. Your family, he built a good life, right? Obviously.
Yeah. And I always had a horse. And I had a horse right up until I was 18, and I left when I was 18, and I ended up moving to northern Arizona and getting a job on a cattle ranch. And I was a cowboy on Dave Perkins' cattle ranch for years, and before I moved to San Francisco with the band. And then my brother stayed into horses. He was into horses his whole life, and he would always, we'd talk on the phone, and I lived in San Francisco. He says, well, when are you going to get a horse? I said, Bill, I live in an apartment in San Francisco. Okay. There's no stables around here. There's no horses. There's nothing to do equestrian wise. Okay. And so one day, I finally moved to LA, and one day he's driving around in Scottsdale and he sees people playing polo at this Scottsdale Polo Club, and he stops, and he's got horses, and he goes, well, I'm going to try this. And so the owner of the club, or the president of the club, he goes, well, what's your name? And he says, oh, I'm Bill Waybill. And he goes, you're not Fee Waybill's brother, are you? And he went, yeah, and that's the last thing he wanted to hear. My brother doesn't want to be Fee Waybill's brother. He's Bill Waybill, and that's it, And so he goes, oh my God, and the guy's a huge Tubes fan. And he says, tell him if he comes over here, I'll give him a horse and I'll teach him to play polo, and on and on and on. And so Bill calls me up and goes, well, I finally found something really interesting and fun and exciting to do on a horse for you. And I said, yeah, what? He goes, polo. He said, come to Arizona. This guy is going to set you up. And so I did. And I went over there, and the guy says, here's the horse, here's the mallet. Just go out there and hit the ball around. And I went, okay. And so that was 2003. And I fell in love with the sport. And I came back home, and I started trying to look around for polo clubs. And I found the California Polo Club, and I went there, and they went, hey, first lesson's free. And so I took a lesson, and then, next thing you know, I'm buying horses and trading horses and buying saddles and tack and everything. So
how often does that happen to you? I mean, I was telling a few of my friends who was going to talk to you. They said, haven't you talked to him? I said, no, I'm sorry, I haven't talked to him already. But you must. You still kind of look the same. So,
Well, thank you.
Well, no, won't you walk in a store sometime and someone says, hey, you look like that Tubes guy.
Yeah, it happens. It was just the other day, I was in Ralph's. It's kind of like Safeway. I don't know or some kind of grocery store. Yeah. And I was in there buying groceries, and some guy came up to me and went, you're Fee Waybill. I went, yeah. And he goes, oh my God, and then they go off, and I saw you here, and I saw you there. And I got a club. I'm opening a club in the Valley in Burbank, and I really want you to. And okay, well, we're. And I said, well, a club. I said, well, that's great. And, how big is it? He goes, oh, it's about 100 people. And I didn't want to say, you can't afford us. We don't play 100-seat clubs pretty much anymore. And but I talked to him for a while, and we hung out, and I said, I really hope that, he says, come by when it opens up, just come by, and, I'll buy you a drink and we'll check it out. And, okay. So it happened, it's not all that often. I mean, it happens every once in a while.
Remember, if you want to see the entire interview, it's on our sister channel, Rock History Book. There'll be links to the podcast and the entire interview, as well as all things tubes. Remember, support our channel by liking our video. Also, share them on groups you may be a member of. If they fit in those groups, please share them on that or your timeline. It helps our channel. Subscribe to our channel, and of course, always comment on them. We'd appreciate that. I'm John Beaudin. This is Rock History Music. More from Waybill in the next 2-3 days.